Recording, right. Share screen. Bear with. Make it massive. Right. So this took me ages, by the way. I thought this would be a really quick task, but you know, when you're trying to find things in people's accounts that you know exist, but then I've got no concept of time, or I'm like, I swear this happened recently. I saw this. This is a great example. And then you can't find the needle in the haystack anyway. You're like, right, okay, well, they're doing really well now, which is good. So, we're going to go through people's live nutrition counts, and these are your guys' examples. They are real life. There's no judgment here. And I did start putting crosses next to things, and I thought, no, you know what? I'm not going to put crosses. I'll put ticks next to the good examples so it's clear. But I'm not going to put crosses because the whole point is this is a learning journey. It's not judgmental. If you see something that you think, oh, that's me, it's not about, like, again, tearing anyone down or any of that. This is real life coaching. These are real life things. And the one thing I want to be really fucking crystal clear on, I cannot stress this enough. The correlation between the women in this program who have hit 10, 20, 30, even 40 kilos of fat loss, or those who reverse diet impeccably and do not put a millimeter of body fat back on, are the people's who nutrition's logs are 100% accountable and accurate. I literally, when people do their check-in and there is nothing in there, and they're like, I don't know why I didn't get the results I was looking for this week. I'm like, I do. And it's because there's nothing in there. Do you know what I mean? I can't feed anything back. We can't accurately look into what happened. We can only make a judgment assessment saying, well, you've put on body fat, so you weren't in a deficit. It's scientifically impossible, right? You I don't know, like you in a reverse diet, you've put on weight. Well, we can't see any data logged or tracked. Now, I'm not, some of you guys actually wild. You were actually logging and tracking on holiday, this is one thing I will say. And I hand on my heart, apologies if I've got this wrong, by the way. If you've been in the program from this time last year and I am wrong, then I eat my hat. But I don't think I've ever seen so many women in this program go on holiday and still come back having lost body fat. I don't think I have ever seen that. And we describe ourselves as lifestyle coaching. That is what we do. And for me, holidays are okay to enjoy. So again, there's no judgment. If you do put a bit of water retention on, you get back on it. But so many of you guys are coming back like kilos lighter. The lesson there is you obviously moved a lot more on holiday than potentially you would do at home. And that's the consideration, to try and actually bring that into your lifestyle a bit more where you can. And usually it is coming down to steps. But anyway, I'm digressing. But it is pretty impressive to see so many of you actually losing on a trip. It's incredible. So, before we get into it, just want to shout out these wins are insane at the minute. We went through a little bit of a stall point where it just felt like everyone had a million and one plans or were going on holiday. There was a window where it felt like, fuck, like we need to get the needle moving. The last couple of weeks have been insane. So Nicola Rees, first stone loss forever. Then we've got Emma Hill, lost her 10 kg. Lauren Reed has lost 2 stone. Rach HRT, 20 kilograms now. So some really impressive results. And then we've got Caroline hitting deadlift PBs. I know Mary's hitting pull-up PBs. We've got so many incredible PBs going on inside of the program. And by the way, shout them out in the group chat. Shout them out, because although we'll go through workout logs, these are the kind of things, those devil in the details can get a little bit missed, especially if your goal is more to do with body fat or reverse diets, like we're working on the nutrition. This is obviously about nutrition, but it is incredible to see so many PBs being hit. So maybe we ought to start doing hashtag PB as well, so you can actually share those wins, because it is more than just about what the weighing scales read. We actually want that holistic approach. So you take the same kind of measurement angles with your training as well. So start to share those. And then we've got Aksha, who Absolutely incredible. So, Aksha's a doctor and she has been studying for a set of exams for the last 2 years, which is no small thing, like three big examinations, and she passed the fucking lot last week. So, congratulations, Aksha, because that is absolutely incredible. And then I'm pretty sure it was just Cassie who joined us since we did the last Zoom. Apologies if anybody did. I always delete last week's out and then forget what I've actually done. I'm like, shit. Probably ought to pay more attention to that. But let's have a look. I also spent way too long today working out if that's how you spell dissect. I'm not even kidding. I even Googled it and I was going, that does not, you know, when a word doesn't look right and you're thinking, that's not right. Well, it is apparently. So let's just go with it. Anyone that does marketing that tells me otherwise, I'll be like, nope, I Googled it. So, breakfast. Number one rule inside of this program, the correlation between obesity, morbid obesity, and skipping breakfast and skipping meals, incredible. It is the one thing out of all of my experience as a coach that I can majorly draw that connection between, and it is food hygiene. We are talking about at its finest, but it kind of feels like it should be common sense. But somewhere along the way, people lose sight of this. Breakfast, uncompromisable. If I'm seeing, and I saw it today, guys. So when I'm going through and I was randomly picking out accounts to go through today to see if I could find what I was looking for, the amount of you, and I was doing this at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, the amount of you that still had an empty food log at that point in the day, like, you have to take this seriously. Like, I don't know what you're paying for. If you're not going to take the advice, I honestly don't know why some people are in here. It's like, this is the stuff you are being taught to do. So please do it. And the other thing I want to say on this is I'm not a massive fan. I kind of, when you're a bit further into your journey, it doesn't bother me as much. But I'm not a big fan of women in the first like few months of their journey logging ahead of time. Now, I kind of get it on one hand because what you're trying to do is see the full picture of the day, so you've got a better idea. But this is how things get missed and forgotten. So for me, it's really important that you go into this with the approach of saying any single thing that passes my lips gets logged uncompromisably. That has to happen. And unless you're logging live, it makes it really difficult to do that. Now, again, if you're making up a meal, putting it into the app, and then you're copying it across, it's not the end of the world. If you're like me, you have the same breakfast 9 times out of 10, again, not the end of the world. But when you're new, I really want to see that live logging and that live accountability on the bounce because honestly, again, it's really, really important. So you may get pulled up on that if it's something that I think, and I can tell because I do Wednesday stalks and I go in and I'm like, wait, hang on, it's not even Friday and there's a full log in there. And I'm thinking, no, too soon in the journey. Like I say, when you get a bit more experienced and we know the results are where we want them to be coming in, that's a little bit different. But in your early days, I can't stress that enough to you guys. But here's an example of a not so brilliant breakfast. Now, this is a fat loss phase person. It's a couple of reasons. So, one, 700 calories is enormous for breakfast. Now, this could be an example of where somebody was on the road, they've pulled into a service station, they've bought what they've had access to. That may well also be that they've slit lunch into breakfast. If that's the case, then I can't really see breakfast. Do you know what I mean? So either way, this is something that I would pull somebody up on. Anybody also having a grenade protein bar for breakfast? That's not breakfast. I'm sorry, but again, that's telling me that somebody has got a big sweet tooth, and that's something that I would be working with very closely with this client to try and get around that and to try and find better ways of getting something sweet into their breakfast, something more like fruit as opposed to a grenade chocolate bar first thing in the morning. Not ideal. Second one, so I don't remember what's coming, by the way. So I'm doing this very much by eye, what I'm seeing. So we've got the whey protein, we've got 3 cups of tea, quite a lot for breakfast. Again, I'm assuming somebody's putting that in as in their morning. Can you get up, Babu? Sorry, he's got bad legs. He can't get on the sofa, bless him. And all I can see is him doing this. So semi-skim milk, my protein strawberry whey. So that would be mixed together and then cup of tea. This is not going to leave you feeling satisfied. Now, I've got no issues with the protein. I've got no issues with the milk and no issues really with the cups of tea. Maybe trying to substitute some of those with water, but there is no carbohydrate in here whatsoever. Carbohydrates are our greatest source of energy. You've also got to think that in the morning, we want slower digesting carbohydrates, okay? We want something that is going to keep us fueled because if you have this and then you go to work and there are biscuits available, there's a snack drawer, a snack cupboard, somebody's birthday, whatever's going on, you are going to find it really difficult to not feel hungry by like if I had this, I would be starving probably by about 7:30 in the morning. I'd be like, I'm already twitching. So it's just, there's no fuel here. There's the protein, which is a tick, but there's nothing to actually keep us from wanting to grab at the snacks. So Greek yogurt, frozen berries, again, we've fallen into the same category, haven't we? Where it's so fucking easy to add in a bit of granola or some oats or some Weetabix or just something to just pack this out and actually get those slow digesting carbs. And you've got to think as well, if you're having them first thing in the morning, you've got all day to process that. Do you know what I mean? You've got all day for those carbs to actually process. It's not like we're having carb heavy right before we go to sleep. Like, if anyone is afraid of carbs, this is where we want to be trying to get them into our diet. So that one for me, it's very similar to the last one, just minus the cups of tea. You're going to get the protein from the Greek yogurt. So again, we're hitting good protein. I think 25 grams is a great aim for your protein, but even though the berries are a carbohydrate, technically they are going to be a very fast digesting carb. You are going to feel very hungry in a very short amount of time. So we want those complex carbs. So this one, Scottish oats, unsweetened almond milk, peanut butter, watermelon. So I think this was almost the exact opposite. So now we've skipped on the protein. So now we've got an example of where somebody is actually getting the carbs in. They are getting a small amount of protein in, but not from a direct protein source. So the protein in these ingredients is actually coming from the carbohydrates. The protein is secondary and it's coming from, again, a little bit of milk, which technically falls into the fat category, and also the peanut butter, which also counts as a fat over and above a protein. So this would be, if the Greek yogurt was in here as well, that would be a great start. And that kind of 350 calorie marker, I think, is depending on what macros you've got available to you. But I would say 350 calories is it's not a bad kind of start for the day. So we've got a couple of different examples here. So we've got the protein yogurt, we've got the raspberries, blueberries, and we've got the granola. So the only slight thing, if you did want to add a bit of fats or something into this as well, something like a drizzle of honey or a little bit of peanut butter, that's the only slight fix that you might want to make there. But there is still some fats in there because the granola will contain some of those nuts as well. So you are getting fiber in there, you are getting the slow digesting carbs, the faster digesting carbs, and you're getting protein in, and it's 28.5 grams. So that's a great example. Then we've got somebody that's had pancakes. So these will be the smaller pancakes, the really small breakfast ones, 0% fat, strained Greek style yogurt, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. Again, we're ticking the majority of the boxes. Now, this one, where the fats are quite low, again, this is where you could just put a little bit of honey, a little bit of jam, just something in if you wanted to. But again, you might just have fats later on in the day, and that's absolutely fine. So those to me do tick the boxes. Then we've got this one, which is definitely a Coach Kat influence. Anybody that wants her to share the recipe, please just ask for it in the group chat. But I'm pretty sure Michelle has directly lifted what Kat has. She's also shared photos where she makes these boxes up in advance. It's incredible. And it is true. I can see it in a log. And she's also, shock, doing really fucking well inside of this program on this breakfast. And she's not somebody that's got huge, enormous amounts of calories available, but she's having a really strong start to a day with the Weetabix, unsweetened almond milk. So she's bringing the calories down with the unsweetened almond milk over and above a semi-skimmed milk. Impact whey, so she's even getting the protein powder in there. Protein salted caramel pudding by Arla, so she's got another one in. 0% fat Greek yogurt, so she's now bringing in the flavors. That's what she's doing here. She's actually utilizing some of these things to actually bring a bit more flavor into the breakfast. And she's got a nana on there as well. So she's got the slower digesting carbs, the faster digesting carbs, and she's got the protein in there as well. So and you could easily, I mean, hers is 34 grams of protein. If you did want to bring it down a bit, you could do the exact same breakfast, but maybe just skip out one of the yogurt style, one of the protein options. So you could reduce this one a little bit, even if you wanted to make it a little bit more calorie friendly, but it's another great example. So, lunch. I feel like I need a drink of water. My throat is throating. So, here we've got olives, we've got cucumber, cherry tomatoes, M&S mayo, crispy salad, tuna, bell peppers. Guess what's missing? And this was also somebody that missed them out in their breakfast as well. There are no carbohydrates in here, no complex carbohydrates. So again, it's not bad for a light lunch, but I just sprinkle in a bit of couscous in it. Do you know what I mean? Just bringing in a bit of couscous, great for your protein, not bad on fats, but there's hardly any carbohydrate source inside of this food. And I cannot stress enough, carbs are not the enemy. They truly, truly are not. The results we get inside of this program are always going to be better when we drop the fear of a carbohydrate. When we think that is the thing that's derailed us all these years, it truly, truly isn't. So I promise you, that is something that would have made that. And you don't have to have loads. Like I say, a bit of couscous, you're not suddenly going to feel like, oh shit, I've just undone everything. Or a little bit of pasta, or a little bit of rice, or a few potatoes. Do you know what I mean? Just something to get that up. I have no idea what's going on this screen, by the way. I feel like someone's drawing. I don't know how that's happening. We'll just ignore it, pretend it's not happening. Sausage ragu. Now, this one for me, it looks as though this is a shop bought thing, I'm going to assume, and it's quite high in calories for a lunch, I would say. Again, not necessarily bad, but you can see how the carbs are really high in this one. So I'd probably say this is where it's maybe going the other way. And even if you wanted a ready meal for lunch, you can get better options than this. Like, I literally bought a couple from Aldi the other day. I think 350 calories, give or take. I can't remember what it's called. 350 calories, and I'm pretty sure it's 30 grams of protein. Do you know what I mean? That's a better bang for your buck. Chuck a salad alongside it. Bob's your uncle. You're going to feel like you're getting a bit more. So for me, and don't get me wrong, again, there are going to be times where you're busy. You have what you have. It is what it is. It's not the end of the world. It just might mean that somebody's calories, you're not going to have room for snacks or potentially even, but that could have been for dinner. I would probably say that might have been a better option. Um, but we don't want to sell ourselves too short with calories a bit too early on. So lunch, so whey protein, skimmed milk, honeycomb serum. There's no food here. There's no real, this looks like somebody is relying heavily on whey protein at this point, and it's just not a lunch. There's no sustenance there. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. And what you've got to think about is if you were teaching a child how to eat well, you wouldn't sit them in front of a protein shake and a little bit of syrup and go, there's your lunch. They'd look at you like you've got two heads and go, well, where is my lunch? Do you know what I mean? That's just a protein shake. There's no quality of food there. So, again, needs to be an actual lunch, guys. Now, I don't mind having a protein shake as a bit of a snack, But to me, that syrup is probably wasted calories. Do you know what I mean? You could literally buy a flavored protein. If you like honeycomb flavor, buy a protein powder in honeycomb flavor. You've just completely wiped out 72 calories that could have actually gone on real food. So here we've got an Aldi white chocolate protein mousse, an apple, and a Halo Top gooey ice cream. It's not food, guys. It's not food. These are snacks at best. And we have to think about the body needs fueling. Every single one of you inside of this program is doing strength training alongside this. We have to be able to fuel the physiques that we want. This is where food fear or lack of planning, lack of organization, this is where you will end up getting caught out. So, I would pull somebody up on this for sure if that's what I saw that they were genuinely having for lunch. It just shows zero effort. So we've got basmati rice by Morrison's. That looks like it's probably one of the microwavable packs, which again, fine for lunch. Chicken breast, baby spinach. That's fine. You could add a condiment into this quite easily. Do you know what I mean? You could even play around with this a little bit, but that is I mean, it's a basic bitch, but it's doing the job. Do you know what I mean? You could easily chuck a load of those chicken breasts in the air fryer, cook three or four off. You've created your lunch for a few days with your rice and a little bit of spinach, salad, whatever you want that to be. Adding a little bit of avocado to this, again, would have just helped with those healthy fats a little bit, just for the hormonal health. That could just be a little tweak, but it's certainly not a bad lunch. Wholemeal tortilla wraps, chicken breast, baby leaf salad, mayo, very similar thing, but now we've got a wrap. And again, you could do this with vegetarian sausages, you could do this with tofu, you could do this with halloumi. You can make a wrap, do you know what I mean? Pretty much with any innards, any kind of a little bit of condiment, salad, whatever protein of your choice. Like you can easily make up a wrap, take it to work, or make it at home. Do you know what I mean? If you work from home. Salmon, mixed salad, cucumber, olives, feta cheese, red and white quinoa, a bit of olive oil, cherry tomatoes, tea with milk, and free range medium egg. Now, the reason I like this one is because it is honest as fuck. Anywhere where I see 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, 100 grams, I'm going, no, I'm calling bullshit on that. But when you start seeing 16 grams, 23 grams, 50 grams, 1 teaspoon, 40 grams, 1 cup, 1 egg, like you can start to see that there's a real honesty to this account. And when somebody is tracking olive oil as well, you know it's likely to be the truth, and this person will get the results they're looking for. Again, they could have lightened it a little bit of fry light, but I don't know if that was a bit of the salad dressing, feta cheese. It's not bad. You can get a lighter feta cheese. So there could be a couple of things if you did need to lean it out or fatten it up. Do you know what I mean? Again, depending on whether they might have a lot more calories available to them at this point. So if this was a reverse diet, you can see how you can pretty much eat the same foods, but you can introduce things like olive oil to get those healthy fats back up. So that's a really good lunch, in my opinion. Protein pancakes, corn cocktail sausages, mini Babybel light, and a one of the like protein yogurts. Like again, that's not a bad option. Do you know, it's a bit weird, a bit random. There's a lot going on in there. I'm not sure I would personally eat it, but this is obviously a very savory style lunch. But yeah, pancakes and sausages I find a bit strange, but it's an example of a vegetarian option where somebody is thinking it through. They are hitting the requirements of what they need to be hitting inside of that. So it's definitely an option. So dinner. So this one made me laugh when I saw it. So three Aperol spritz and I assume that's a gyros. I assume a Greek gyros. That's a lot of fucking calories, right? Do you know what I mean? That is an example of where you are most definitely not in a calorie deficit. Some of you just about have 1400 calories for your entire day, and that's where it's all gone in one sitting. We also know that alcohol is going to stall the fat burning process. So if you're in a deficit. Now, one thing I do appreciate is somebody trying to be honest here. They've had three Aperol Spritz. They've most likely, I'm going to assume, I mean, it could have been one that you buy from a shop, but they also might have had a Greek gyros while out. So they're just trying to find something in the app that at least gives some clues as to what they've eaten. So I do appreciate the honesty with this, but it's not quite the dinner that we're all looking for, is it? Those Aperol Spritz could have been a gin and slimline tonic for 165 calories. That all of that alcohol could have been 165 calories, not pressing it all the way over. So, and I mean, I think Aperol Spritz tastes like shit, but I'm well aware I'm in a minority there. I also don't like the fact it's orange. I find it really weird, but it's just an example of where if you're going to drink, you could make slightly savvier choices. So mushrooms, chicken breast fillets, brown onions, and sultanas. No complex carbohydrates. That is a very, very low dinner. Now, again, if somebody had a massive lunch or they ate out, let's say, I don't know, we used to do it when I worked in the corporate world. We might go out for lunch as a team. We used to go to the pub together. So again, that could be an example where somebody's had a heavier lunch. So they're having a lighter dinner, which fine, you know what? But generally speaking, we do still want to get those carbohydrates in at dinner. Even if it's not a ton of them, we still want to be trying to spread them out throughout the day. I find this weird. And again, I know. So I'm the opposite to this. I can pretty much eat anything for breakfast, as in I could happily wake up and have sushi. I don't, but I could. If you put sushi in front of me at breakfast, I would eat it. But if you put cereal in front of me at dinner, I am kicking off. That is weird to me to have breakfast at dinner, but I know some of you guys do it. And I know, like, I remember going around to like, children's houses at school and they would be like, "Oh, are you having dinner with us tonight, Ash?" And I'd be like, "Oh, if that's okay, please, Mrs. Carter." She'd bring out a fucking sandwich. And I was like, "That's not dinner." And I was very much raised that you have a hot dinner. There was no such thing as like a sandwich or a bowl of cereal for dinner. So I find it very strange. Again, you know what? They are hitting some of the groups. Fats are a little bit low. Protein's probably a little bit lower as well. We do want to try and get more bang for our buck for 490 calories. But again, that Peroni took took pride of place, didn't it? So imagine eating cereal with a beer. Just find the whole thing. I'm like, that to me is really wild. But again, we're not here to judge. We listen and we do not judge, but I am judging. So this is a McDonald's dinner, which again, you know what? It's not terrible. It is not the end of the world. There are going to be times where we do this. They've gone for the 10 box of chicken nuggets, McNuggets, whatever they're called. I would not go for nuggets, but do you know what I mean? Like again, they've tried to get some protein in there, fries, and they've gone for a bottled water, which credit to them because again, you could quite easily stumble and fall upon a milkshake, which is going to dramatic. Although half of the machines are always broken in the UK, but there you go. But again, this is real life. There are going to be times where we do fall into McDonald's, but it's just to be mindful. We can get more bang for our buck in terms of protein, fats, and carbs, but it's not the end of the world. So I just wanted to address that because I saw it today. This one, so we've got prawns and fries, which again, I just I couldn't get my head around that as a dish. I was like prawns and chips, and then we've got a homemade lemonade and some licorice. So this feels a bit like a picky tea where somebody's gone, I don't really know what to have. And I mean, I could smash prawns if they weren't so expensive. I could eat them just as a snack, but they cost so much money. You've really got to think about your life choices at that point when you want to live off prawns. So again, they are getting their protein in there. It's actually really incredible. And prawns, by the way, in terms of calories for protein, the ratio is incredible. It's like a tin of tuna in brine or spring water. You're going to struggle to beat it because it is just so incredible for really low calories, really high protein. But There's no proper food there. It still kind of feels a bit like it's just what somebody's had available, which it might well be, and shit happens. Um, it just felt like a bit of a strange dinner when I saw it today. But again, it's probably not the norm. Here we've got a Sunday dinner and a pretty well done Sunday dinner. So we've got a bit of joint beef. I like the fact again, 118 grams. It looks like somebody has actually genuinely weighed this out. Potatoes, 148 grams. Again, it appears very weighed out. Broccoli, carrots, parsnips. Now, my only consideration would be what was that cooked in? Most likely not water. There probably was some sort of oil in there, but again, if it was fry light or something like that, it's just worth noting just to make sure things like that are getting tracked because it can add up depending on the options. If that was all cooked in goose fat, we're going to ramp up those calories. So it's just something to bear in mind. But you can have a Sunday roast dinner that is exceptionally lean. If you forgo the Yorkshire puddings, if you forgo the cauliflower cheese, some of the fancy extras that we might have on a better occasion, or if you're going to a carvery or Sunday Christmas dinner, something like that, you bring out your bread pudding, like all of that. Do you know what I mean? But you can do it on the lean, and this is an example of where somebody's managed to do that. So I like that. There were quite a lot of Sunday dinners actually, because I was looking at yesterday. I thought I'm gonna have to move away from this, or it's just gonna be examples of Sunday roast dinners, but they were good. So credit to those of you that are doing it. Oh, my button's not clicking. Here we go. So this is an example of where somebody has had pretty much the same meal that they have had for lunch as a dinner. And again, I've got no issues with that. Like you can absolutely, I think those are two meals of the day where you can alternate between like something that you would have for lunch and something that you could quite easily have for dinner. So I just wanted to show that as an example that there's it, like, do you know what I mean? It's cereal that I personally find weird for dinner, but I think lunch and dinner can be a little bit more switched over. So here we've got the jumbo cut king prawns. They slap, they're good ones. I like those ones. Sweet corn corbettes, a baked potato, sunflower oil, premium soy sauce, and low calorie ginger ale. Now, I can't say I've ever had a ginger ale. I don't even know what that tastes like, but it's obviously pretty much no calories. But do you know what I mean? We've got the protein from the prawns. We've got some slow digesting carb in the baked potato, fast digesting, so we're getting some fiber in with the sweet corn. There is a little bit of healthy fat in there as well. Do you know what I mean? Like we're pretty much getting it, like ticking it across the board. Less than 500 calories. It's ticking boxes, that dinner, isn't it? And then we've got muscle food beef, Sainsbury's vegetable stir fry, sweet chili garlic stir fry sauce, and rice. So we've basically got a beef stir fry with rice, haven't we? Again, you know it's going to be high in fiber. There's going to be a huge amount of vegetables on that plate. You're getting your protein in from the beef and you're getting some carbohydrates in that are slower digesting through the rice as well. So a nice other dinner at fewer than 500 calories. So again, I think that is another good option. Romaine lettuce, red onion, halloumi, and a high protein flatbread. So this is an example of a vegetarian or vegan option. Again, quite an easy one that you could put together. My only question on this one would be that would be dry as a fucking bone. Most likely some condiment went onto this. So again, it's just remembering to include the condiment because that would be like chewing sawdust by the time you're actually trying to get that to go down. So that would be my only comment on that. But you can see how switching things out for vegetarian, and it felt like actually weirdly, dinner for me was the hardest option today to find where people were really nailing it. Sunday roast dinners looked great, but it felt like that one was a bit more of a struggle. Now, I'd be interested to hear in the chat if that's representative of how you guys feel, whether dinner feels like a harder option. And I'll be honest, I rotate. I am a rotator in terms of my cut dishes and then like my winter, like slightly more bulky dishes. But I would have things like a spicy prawn stew, which is basically frying up prawns in a pan. I then add celery. I then add peas. I then add tomatoes, chopped tomatoes out of a tin. Then add a fuck ton of flavors like paprika, garlic, a bit of chili spice. I then literally put some couscous beside it. That's it. Do you know what I mean? It takes me 10 minutes to make that dish, probably 2 minutes to eat it because it's yummy. I would make things like a spag bol and I would just bring down the amount of pasta that I have with it. I would have a chili, bring down the amount of rice that I would have with it, make sure it's 5% lean beef mince. I wouldn't be having. So whenever Thomas's mum's like, I've made a spag bol, do you want it? If I'm cutting, I have to say no, thank you, because she has it with lamb mince. That's going to be really high in fat. It's not going to meet my macros, so I would have to pass on that. Garlic bread gets cut in the summer for me. It comes back in the winter. Cheese gets cut in the summer for me, not a priority. Bring it back in the winter. What else would I make? Things like wraps. I do like a wet wrap, which is more like your fried, like courgettes, mushrooms, onion, peppers with chicken. It could also be done with tofu, halloumi, any of that. I might put some pulses in it as well. So like beans out of a tin, not baked beans, the all the other kind of beans like mixed beans, and then I'll chuck it in a wrap, put it in the air fryer, toast it off for 5 minutes. I've got a really nice wrap. I would make something like a homemade gyros. So I would get a high protein flatbread from Aldi, really good on macros. Then again, fry off chicken, chuck in a load of salad, away you go. Like I just rotate the same dishes that I know can be less than 600 calories for me. Lunch, I keep showing everybody these. This is Coach Kat's influence on the world. So these guys from Aldi, so like two skewers, you're gonna get 30 grams of protein in, chuck them in the air fryer for 15 minutes. I put half a bag of microwavable rice, a little bit of a Caesar salad with it, or just make up your own salad. That's the kind of thing that we eat on repeat for lunch. Keep it really simple. And again, I've got my prawns, really quick lunch, tuna, really quick lunch. Do you know what I mean? These are all interchangeable things. So that's kind of how I do it. So, does anybody let me stop sharing? Go back to the chat box. Where are we? Da-da-da. I think my breakfast is my favorite meal of the day just now. Love my protein porridge and yogurt in the mornings. It's a basic bitch breakfast and it does the job. Do you know what I mean? I love breakfast too. Michelle, yours was an example. I know it was. We've all seen the photos. Definitely not afraid of carbs. Love them, which is great because you've had fucking incredible results as well. So the proof is in the pudding or the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Snacks, actually, I ran out of time for, but things like the little packets of nuts, great snack to get some healthy fats in there with a bit of protein in as well, as long as you are measuring the quantity because they can obviously rack up fast. Fruit, great option for healthy snacks. Kiwis, really good for perimenopausal women, actually. Kiwis. I love a kiwi. I've been buying kiwis recently, but there are qualities inside of them that are really good for perimenopause. So maybe not enough data behind that, but just resharing what is kind of starting to look like it's coming through. Um, but even things like Gem, I know you have the small Freddos. Like I see some of those inside people's accounts today. I was trying to find an example. This was a while ago from a client where she was having two of them a day. It was like 360 calorie cookie things from M&S, and I was like, bro, you got to stop that. Like there is no room for a 350 calorie cookie. Maybe as a one-off treat, but not like twice daily. I'm like, you are literally taking up like the best part of a third of the deficit on cookies. We can't really get that through. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to work. Things like biltong or jerky, you can buy them in packets. You can even get those at the airport. Do you know what I mean? If you don't mind chewing on chewy meat. I personally don't mind. I actually quite like the flavors they come in. The protein pouches, the protein yogurts, the all of the various options that they typically do in Aldi Lidl, incredible for like a late afternoon snack. definitely keep you feeling very full for very long. So loads of different snack options, but you guys can also share in the group or in the chat right now other things that you do as well. Um, can you have the recipe? Which one? I don't know what that was for. Sorry. You're gonna have to let me know, Jem. I'm not sure what you were referring to there. I talk fast. Oh, the Weetabix breakfast. I mean, that was the recipe. Like I'll get Coach Cat to put it in as well because is she on? I don't think she's on. Is she on? There's so many on. I don't think she's on. But or Michelle, if you wouldn't mind putting it in, like just screenshotting it, putting it in the group. I know it's something you have. But again, tweak it if you want to tweak it to meet your macros or experiment with it. But essentially, I think it's two Weetabix. Greek yogurt, or you can obviously put your protein powder with it with some milk, let it smush up a little bit, a layer of Greek yogurt on top, chuck a load of fruit on. You could do frozen, you could do fresh, whatever floats your boat. If you want to put a drizzle of honey or something to sweeten it up a little bit, that's it's basically an overnight oat, but with a Weetabix. And I think it tastes a little bit like cheesecake if you get it right as well. I'm always over on my carbs. I love a carb. It's a common theme, actually, just trying to bring the carbs down a little bit. It's usually what we see early on in somebody's journey, just trying to bring them down. And while carbs are not the enemy, we don't want them to skyrocket either because they will impact the water retention the next day. As I've said before, but I'll say it again, every time we eat carbs, they're going to hold on to 4 grams of water retention. So for every 1 gram, you're going to get 4 in water retention. So this is why when you cook pasta, it fattens up after it's got water inside of it. That's what then sits inside of you. So if you go too high, too regularly, again, it's just going to skew the data on the weighing scales for you the next morning. So we just tend to try and make you aware. Um, think it's the other Michelle. Yes, it is. Sorry, it's not Michelle Turner. Sorry, I don't know. I think the right Michelle's on, or am I just? Yeah, I think she is. It's Michelle Schofield that does it. I made a Weetabix one the other day. Emma, if you've made it, then yeah, chuck it in. If anyone's got the exact Kahuna stats, then definitely chuck a screenshot in, or if you've got a photo of your breakfast as well, chuck it in the group chat. Weetabix makes me heave. So Thomas gets like acid reflux, so he's got to be really funny with Weetabix. Like I've never had acid reflux in my entire life, but he's like a Gaviscon, like obsessed with the stuff, which is really weird. But he can't have like oats unless they're gluten free. He is getting around Weetabix at the moment, weirdly, because I went to the box the other day and I was like, where the fuck has it all gone? And I buy real Weetabix. He came back with like Bixie Wheats. And I was like, you tight fucker. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm here buying £5 box of Weetabix. You've eaten the entire thing, and then you've brought back like the imposter version.
This time.
Oh, apparently he's bought real ones this time. So he's gone through another box. And I'm like, I've had like 3 Weetabixes out of the entire box. Like I bought them for me. There's nothing safe in this house. I could put it in the group. Amazing. Thank you. My favorite is chocolate with berries. This is it. Experiment with the flavors and whatever protein powders, different things. Fake Weetabix is not allowed. Do you know what? I actually can't taste the difference when I have had whatever the Bixie wheat Bix, and I see it in some of your guys' things today as well, where it's clearly like the other branded version. But again, credit to you because you are scanning the box, you are putting the right thing in. There will be slight nuances between the versions, but I actually could not taste the difference. And I do get it. A box of Weetabix being over £5, it feels like, when did that happen? Right, does anyone have any questions about nutrition, about ideas, about programs, literally about anything? Jojo, I do need to write your program. Apologies for that. We attached the wrong one to your account over the weekend, and I missed it. You are at the front, and yeah, I was like, fuck, that's not the right program. So I actually need to write that one. So it is on my list to get done tomorrow. So appreciate you doing what you could of that program, and you're not in the gym. So I was like, oh, that's really unhelpful. Sorry about that. Um, any more for any more? Are we all good? Right. Have a fantastic week. If you are newer into the program or struggling, we are going to be checking in on your accounts on Wednesday, or if anyone ever wants us to just triple check anything, message us. Obviously, in your private group, we can do that, or otherwise, we will see you at check-ins on Friday. Keep it going, guys. This, honestly, the last 2 weeks, it's the most incredible feeling as coaches when all you see is wins, wins, wins. It's the most amazing feeling. So keep up the incredible work, and we will see you on Friday, if not before. Mwah! Have a lovely week, guys. Bye.